All right, so you can see that in this problem, there was a lot of algebra involved. Let me show you a different way to solve this problem when you set it equal to 0. So let me go ahead and write it somewhere else. So I'm going to go ahead and take this equation, right, this thing in yellow, and I'm going to go ahead and redo it. So here you see that I kind of rewrote this problem. So again, this problem is just basically this one that I did. I highlighted in yellow, or I bubbled it in yellow, and I just put it over here in a different sheet so you guys can see. So what we're going to do, we're going to solve the same problem. Now the way that we're going to do it here is by factoring. So instead of having to FOIL everything out, moving something over, cross multiplying and then FOILing everything out, what we're going to do is we're going to factor it. So what we're going to look at, we're going to look at both terms first. So here's both different terms, and we're going to see what they both have in common. Well, one of the first things that I see is that I have this guy in common. I have the x minus 4 squared here and an x minus 4 here as well. So you can see that I can take out one x minus 4 out. I can take out one of them. Okay. Now the next thing that I notice is that I'm going to look at the x to the 4/5 and the x to the 1/5, negative 1/5. So here's where it gets a little tricky. These two guys are common. You can take something out, and it's really weird to take something out from the negative side. But notice, if we look at the x minus 4 that we just took out, we took out the smaller one of the two, right? See how this one had 2 and this one had 1? So we took out the smaller one, which is x minus 4 to the first power. So that's kind of what the same thing what we're going to do here. We're going to take out the smaller one. And the smaller one is x to the negative 1/5. So that's what I'm going to take out, x to the negative 1/5. So I'm going to take out that guy. And now let's see what's left over. So what's left over, so here I have the 4/5. I took out this guy, the x to the negative 1/5. So that one's gone. It's not going to be written over here. And I took one of the x minus 4s out of this guy. There's two of them here. So I'm going to take out one x minus 4. So I'm left with one left over. Okay. So you can see that if I FOIL the x minus 4, I get 2x minus 4s. And if I get the x to the negative 1/5, if I FOIL it, I get the x to the negative 1/5 back. Okay, now the second term, notice that I have still the plus 2. The plus 2 didn't go away. Now, unfortunately, that x minus 4, I factored it out. That one's the outside one, so this one gets no x minus 4. And now here's the tricky part. So the tricky part here is that, okay, I had 5/5 of this x. I'm taking away negative 1/5. So kind of think about it this way. I have 4/5 of this guy, and I'm taking away negative 1/5. Okay, that's kind of what I'm doing. I have 4/5 of this guy. I'm taking away negative 1/5. How much is that left over? Well, both of these guys, that negative and negative, is going to turn me into a positive. So get 5 over 5, which gives me 1. So I'm only left with 1x. So you can see if I FOIL this guy out, the x to the negative 1/5 in here, times this 1, I'm going to get that 4/5 back. Alright, so that's the only subtle part. Set this guy equal to 0. Alright, so now notice everything kind of looks pretty FOILed, so I'm going to set this x minus 4 equal to 0. I'm going to set that x to the negative 1/5 equal to 0. And I'm going to set this 4/5 x minus 4 plus 2x equal to 0. Okay, here notice I get x equals 4, so that's my answer. This guy I'm not going to get anything because you see 1 over x to the 1/5. Oh, well, that's not really going to give me anything because if I move the x to the 1/5 over this way, well, I'm going to get 1 equals 0. Well, that doesn't really give me anything. But notice, isn't the derivative undefined here? You take a look at this, derivative is undefined. F prime is undefined here. So what we're going to do is set that guy, this one cannot be equal to 0. So I'm going to have x to the 1/5 equal to 0. So that's going to give me x equals 0. So that's my solution for that guy. So this is where it was undefined. Now this guy, let's go ahead and FOIL it out. So get 4/5 x minus 16/5 plus 2x equals 0. Alright, so I can add these two guys together. And that's going to give me 14 over 5 x minus 16 over 5 equals 0. I'm going to add the 16 over 5 over. All right. And then I'm going to get rid of this guy so I can multiply by 5 to both sides. That goes away. 14x equals 16. Divide by 14. You get that x is equal to 8 over 7. All right, so take a look at these answers. 8 over 7, 0, and 4. Okay, so if you look at that, 8 over 7, 0, and 4. So I get the same exact answer. Here you do have to factor a little bit more, and factor a little more in a very more sophisticated way that you might not be really used to. So, but either format works. So if you want to go ahead and factor out the highest power, right? The lowest power from this guy, and then just solve it this way. Or if you just want to go ahead and put it over and then just FOIL everything out and do the algebra, both ways work. They will still give you the same answer. So that's just an alternative way of doing this problem, but a little bit less algebraic. So that's just, but you'll still get the same answer.